What's up, everybody? It's Keefy at GhostCultMag.com with a special video. We are celebrating or putting to rest the career of Kiss, at least as a touring band. They are not ending as a band. They're just not going to tour anymore, but being that touring was almost their whole career was based on the live shows and things, this is felt like a pretty poignant moment to stop and talk about the band. Kiss has as many lovers as haters, which I think they all enjoy collectively, especially Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. I have managed to rustle up a cavalcade of stars, if you will, of the metal world, a respected musician, people from across the spectrum of journalism and content, if you will. So I'm really pleased. I'm going to introduce everybody first, and then we're going to get into the nitty gritty. We're going to answer some burning questions about the end of the road for Kiss as a live band, or maybe the end of the road as the band as we've known it. I'm just going to go in order of my screen here. So I want to welcome in from the Worley gig blog, Gail Worley. It'd be good if I unmute people correctly. It'd be a nice idea to do this. Let's see, already not doing it right. There we go. Okay.
Hi,
Hi, Gail.
Keefy. Hi,
Welcome.
everybody.
Welcome.
Happy
Thank
to
you.
be here.
Yeah, Gail is amazing. I'm going to link everybody's links and stuff in the description, as well as whenever we chop this up into smaller posts, probably, and a podcast, most definitely. So you can find everybody that's about to speak in the description. And I guess you will unmute yourselves when it's time. When I call on you, you'll unmute yourself, but I'll remute you for now. All right. We'll do Peter next. Peter, how are you doing? Peter Wilson of Four Trips Ahead, also with a brand new solo single out. Great to see you, my friend.
Thanks so much, Keith. Great to see you.
Great to see you. Full transparency, Peter and I went to high school together, but he is a well-respected, established musician, beside the fact that I cherish you personally as a person. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for inviting me, Keith. I'm fired up to talk about Kiss.
Yeah, I think so. I think we all are. Brand new to me, but very special in his own way. Mark Morris, you might know him from TikTok and Instagram. Mark's Metal Minute. I have a world of respect for you, Mark, and it's so great to meet you.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Keefy.
And right on with the Destroyer background. I'm all about it. I love it. I didn't have enough time to do anything, so this is just my bedroom in San Francisco, my usual studio setup. So whatever, a couple of creative lights and that much. Of course, my dear friend and comrade in arms, Ken Pierce of piercingmetal.com and Ken Pierce Media, among other things. Ken, how are you doing today?
Oh, great to be here and talk about Kiss. And like yourself, I did not come up with any background. So everybody who ever sees this now and in the future, imagine any Kiss background behind me that you feel like seeing. It's there. It's there for you. Hello, everybody. It's great to be here and talk about my favorite band of the world.
Any background, even Animalize?
Yes.
Awesome. Just poking the fun. A good friend of mine and an author and now a vlogger and a journalist of great repute, Don Leaumont. You know his book and his blog, Southeast of Heaven, and I think he's got a new TikTok handle that's hilarious. Also, how you doing, brother?
I should probably unmute myself. There we go. Hey, doing good, Keith, man. And it's a pleasure to meet everybody. I've seen a lot of your names quite a bit, so it's cool to be here and talk about Kiss. Yes.
Does that shirt say Taylor Swift, but it's the Twisted Sister logo?
It does say actually, this was a gift to me from Klaus Eichstadt from Ugly Kid Joe.
Name dropping. Nice work. That's usually what I do.
He actually designs these shirts, so y'all go look up the Mock and Roll tees, I think is what it is.
Mock and Roll, word up. I'm going to look that up and link it. Maybe I'll link that in the description also. And also, I will bring in my hetero life mate and podcast partner, Nick Cameron of the Glacially Musical Podcast. People see me and this guy on their screens way too much every week. How you doing today, Nick?
I'm doing good. Hello from the Hamptons. That is the Hamptons of South St. Louis City, of course, because I am on brand. Excuse me.
It's not a drum roll. It's a beer pour. I love it.
Cheers.
Super unbanned cheers. I only have a seltzer today. I didn't want to drink for this since I'm in charge, you know.
I still have Canadian football beers left over from the football championship party for cool people too.
All right, I'll leave it there. I'll come back to you in a minute. And a guy that I used to actually be a colleague of, we worked together at Metal Army America very briefly before I took over Ghost Cult. You know him from Mars Attack Radio, Talking Metal Podcast, Victor Ruiz. How are you doing, brother, from across the world? So good to see you.
I'm doing great. I should say that it signals from Mars. It name changed about a year ago.
My bad. I think my email contact list still says Mars Attack Radio. I am so sorry. Signals from Mars.
Yeah, that's fine. I figured it was time to change the name so that people didn't keep doing Mars Attacks noises at me and asking, is this a music podcast or are we talking about a movie? So
Victor is kind enough to sacrifice his sleep to be with us. He's in Europe, so I may give a little favoritism to Victor at the start of this for the questions, just in case he needs to bolt or gets tired and feels like he's going to pass out on camera. In the meantime, we're going to set the table. Kiss is retiring and theoretically playing their final shows ever December 1st and 2nd. As they say, they're not touring anymore. That doesn't, could be anything else after that, And the band, Paul Stanley, has been ill this week as we record this. They just came back and played last night in Indianapolis after missing, I think, 3 shows. And, these guys are getting up there in age, and they put on an exhausting show. Whatever you think about Kiss, whatever you feel about Kiss, they are an enduring band that has been around for over 50 years. And let's be honest, I think everybody here can agree. I'll make a generalization to start with. We don't have a lot of great American rock bands from the classic rock era. We really only have a few. And so Kiss is one of those bands, for better or worse. And so we're going to discuss that here. And so I'm going to open up the roundtable discussion. There's a series of questions I plan to ask. This is much more scripted than my normal band interviews or anything else I do. It's not as loosey-goosey as my podcast with Nick, so he's going to think this is weird. I think we're wearing almost matching shirts, bro. I don't know what's going on. But I did not plan this. But here we go. Here's the questions for this conversation. The Knights in Satan's Service, the Knights of the Round Table of Kiss. What are the next steps for Kiss as a brand or a band? Forecast what you think they're going to do after that last show. And we'll start with Victor.
All right. So they've been putting out these live albums last few years. I think we'll continue to see that. I think that we'll continue to see them do the cruise because they make so much money off of that. And I mean, let's be honest, that's them doing what? 1 or 2 shows on a cruise. And if it's not the full band, I could see it just being Gene and Paul and having other bands up there and them getting paid to do what they currently do on the cruise. The last thing that I want to add to this, and I've been saying this for a while, I think that they could be the first band to actually do a hologram type thing correctly because they have the fan base, they have the money to put into it. But I'm not sure that the whole approach that we saw with Dio makes sense. I think if they were to combine what they did with the convention back in the day and do something where they go to a venue, you have Gene and Paul come out and do like a storyteller type thing. Hey, we wrote this song for this album, blah, blah, blah. And here's some live footage from that tour, a way to celebrate the band. And I think that you have the perfect fan base to just eat that up. They don't have to go out and make up. They don't have to do it all year long. They can charge a shitload of money for it and make, what they would normally do in touring. I mean, there's no way that the brand is going to stop making money. They'll find ways. There'll be ways that it'll work, and there'll be other ways where it won't, where it'll flop, but they'll keep trying shit. So
that's the whole Kiss. That's the Kiss mantra right there. Next, and I like your Creatures of the Night album. I see there on the far right-hand side. Gail, I'm going to pose the same question to you. What do you think Kiss does next, as if they're not touring anymore? Oh, you're muted. Gail, I think you're on mute. Let me... 1 second. Nope.
Okay.
There you go. There you
All
go.
right. So what I said when I was on mute was, I really agree a lot with what Victor said. I think not touring anymore doesn't mean not playing live. In addition to doing things like the cruises, which, like he said, has a limited obligation of live performances, but reaches a lot of hardcore fans and makes a lot of money. I think they'll do that. I think they might do, and this would be so perfect for them, do a residency at the Sphere in Las Vegas. It was made for them, you know, with the visuals and everything. I think they could clean up doing that for months at a time. Like they could be like the Billy Joel of the Sphere, you know, and like sell out 20 dates a year or something like that. You know, I think as long as they stay healthy, they'll keep playing live, and everything else is like, you know, secondary. The fans will love whatever they do.
Right on. I really appreciate that thoughtful answer, Gail. Let's pitch it up to Mr. Hot Take Don, because I know he's probably got something sassy saved up for this. What do you say, Don? What do you think Kiss does next? Are they bullshit? Are they going to come back and tour in like 2 years? Or is this really it?
So, you know, to be totally honest, I loved what Gail said, because I actually wrote that down on my notepad, that I thought the Sphere in Vegas was something that was going to be perfect for them. Because one of the things I'm seeing a lot right now are bands, especially of that age, that are saying we're going to stop touring, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to stop being a band. You know, so I could totally see Kiss doing a residency of sorts. You know, the other thing my conspiracy theory is that I could actually see them franchising Kiss out, the makeup, the band, doing like a Kiss East Coast, Kiss West Coast, Kiss Germany, Kiss Sweden, you know what I mean? And like them still having quality control and overseeing the operation, but bringing that show, maybe even with a more youthful band. Like, I mean, there's so many Kiss tribute bands out there that, no offense, sound better than Kiss does now in some ways, you know, that have the youthful energy, that have the cut, that have the energy to do it. And I could totally see them overseeing like a franchise. And to be honest, as a longtime Kiss fan, like maybe 10 years ago, I would have called bullshit on that. But I think now I love Kiss, always have, always will. And I would love to go see Kiss represented that way.
Don Leaumont, thank you very much. This is Gene Simmons. Have you seen my exceptionally handsome son Nick or Paul's exceptionally talented son Evan? They both could replace us. That was my very bad Gene Simmons impersonation.
That was great.
Good answer there, sir. I was really waiting for the one. I'm sure you're gonna have one zinger in here somewhere. Let me ask you, Peter, next. You're a touring musician. You're a working musician, solo artist, bands. The level of whether they can still perform at a high level or not, it's gotta be insane to do what they do. However many shows are on this final tour, so it was it's been years of the farewell tour, but you know, like physically they just can't. Could you continue to do this at 70 something years old, 69, 70, 71, right? It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, I actually agree with. I was going to say what Don was saying. I think Paul vocally is done right now for hard rock stuff, and I think it's okay, because up till about 7 or 8 years ago, I thought he was godly, and I think he had a really not good vocal operation, it's a very tricky operation, and I think unfortunately it hit Paul a lot differently. I saw him on his last solo tour, and he was phenomenal. And then he went in for that operation, and I saw a huge difference. And I heard it. So I think Paul, but I think that if you're talking about the franchise, I mean, it's just beginning to me. It's a whole other stage. I think you're going to see like a Trans-Siberian Orchestra thing going on, where you have a East Coast, West Coast Kiss. I think you're going to see a reality TV show where you could have Kiss coming on and having people actually audition to play the membership. I think it'd be a great show to do, maybe a Netflix series or whatever. I think you could do a Kiss Europe, a Kiss Japan, a Kiss Australia. You can totally franchise. It's the first band that can really do that and capture the characters. I think you can totally do that. I think you'll see Paul do another Soul Station record after a couple of years of resting his voice, because he can sing that stuff pretty in a controlled environment well. I think his voice needs to not be singing for 2 years. I think Gene will get antsy and do some crappy solo tours that are not well organized, like he did before behind his little set that I can't believe people bought. But yeah, I think I can see things like that. And I think it's cool also. I want to mention, even though I don't know the panel's opinion, I'm a Kiss fan, like original Kiss, no makeup Kiss, and the whole nine. I think what Bruce Kulick is doing is really, really awesome, and his band is fantastic. And they're doing all this like cool non-makeup Kiss stuff, kind of deep tracks sometimes. So I think you're going to see like I actually don't think Kiss is going to do the cruise right away. Maybe Gene would do with his solo band because they were doing cool stuff like Charisma and and Going Blind and really cool stuff. But I think really Paul takes a break, as we're seeing here. Like he's really going through it, and I think his body is kind of, and I think that mentally he's a little out. So I think it'd be interesting. And I think if you did like a reality show, you can bring the original members on. You can bring someone like Bruce Kulick on. You can bring shoot, you can pull out Vinnie Vincent if he's in if you can catch him for like a couple of hours on, I mean, you could really kind of vamp it up. So that's where I see. But the only thing I hope, my personal feeling with Kiss is I like to see them do better box sets. Like the live series is really cool. I loved, I think the idea around Creatures was fantastic, and Destroyer. I think they have better albums to do that with, that have more B-sides. Like Creatures is a great example of a great album, not a lot of leftover material, and they were kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel for that. Whereas I think that there are earlier albums and certain records where they wrote a lot, and I think Kiss fans would love that because the packaging was fantastic for both of those, both Destroyer and Creatures. So I could definitely see things like that in the works too, because Gene's not going to be able to sleep not touring. So I'm sure that's going to happen.
For better or worse, Gene. Great points, Peter. Thank you. Let's hear from Mark Morris. Mark, like I said, this is my first time meeting you, and I want to expose you to our audience and get your awesome takes. I've really appreciated you for so long on the internet, so this is a treat for me personally. But what does Kiss do the day after the last show? What are those guys going to do? Sleep all day? Go on vacation? What do you think they do? And then what do you think they do broadly after that?
Even if I'm totally wrong on what they do, one thing I can guarantee you, they will make money, because one of the things that they're best at is making money. Now, Peter and Don, I kind of go along with them. I really go along with Peter more. I think that they're not going to tour. Not tour. I'm sorry. They're not going to do live shows. I do think that Paul needs to rest. I think Paul's voice is really, really going. With good reason. I mean, he's getting on up in years, as I am as well. So I know that he's probably going to rest that voice. But I do see them licensing their name out onto bands, doing the franchise idea. I like that because I came up through the 80s, and I remember they slapped their name on everything. I had a Kiss lunchbox that I took to school. They had their name on everything. They had a Saturday morning cartoon. They had the movie, out for a while. That was a very bad movie, but it was out. So I see them going in that direction. But again, anything that they do, they're going to make money at it.
Well said. I have to turn it over to my comrade in arms, Ken Pierce. What if the Sultan of Brunei, I think I asked you this on a phone call, what if the Sultan of Brunei just calls them in a few months and is like, $10 million, come put on a concert for me? Are they going to say no? I've never seen them turn down a buck. What do you think, buddy? Oh, you're on mute also, Ken.
You hear me?
Yeah, there you go. Go ahead.
Well, hello, Sultan of Brunei. This is Gene Simmons of Kiss, and I'm going to join the tour. Okay, so everybody had a lot of the things I was thinking of: the Kiss Siberian Orchestra, the franchise, the thing. But all right, I see some kind of Broadway show in this. I think that would be a very interesting thing, because during pandemic, you all don't know me, but Keith and Gail do. I was working in Broadway during the COVID times, helping keep the shows happening. And I saw so many different amazing shows, and I'm like, Kiss is a perfect thing for a show that's a spectacle show. And you could do all the effects without burning a house down because they have lifelike looking flames and streamers and all that other stuff that you see happening during the day. I agree with Mark and that they will not tour. Gene said in a recent interview, Kiss will go on, but you will not see us in the same fashion of this every night live doing this kind of stuff. His outfit is about 60 pounds. Gene alone, Gene is 75 this year. I think what we will see a lot more of, and I will trump you all on this, is stuff like this. The toy stuff will go crazy. This is, and I'm going to give a shout out because this is a new favorite thing of mine. This is called a Pop Tater, and it's made by Super Impulse. They're wonderful. They have a Gene and they have a Paul. I don't have the Paul yet, but they have the Gene, and it's much like a Mr. Potato Head. He does come apart. The tongue comes off. You can make them whatever you like. And of course, our favorite friends over at Funko are going to do a lot more things with the band, and Best Action figures are coming, more statues. We're going to see all of that stuff that's hard license, that's easy for Gene to curate. Paul is more of the business side of the band progressing. Gene is the licensed guy. So I see him now having time to be a fine-tooth comb and a magnifying glass going, this is the wrong color black on my suit, you know? He's always been a master at that kind of stuff, and we're going to see a lot more of it. I've already seen pre-order lists for some statues that are pricey, but we're Kiss fans. We're going to buy them. When I saw this this Pop Tater, the rep said to me, "What do you think?" I said, "The Kiss fans are going to ask you one question." She goes, "How can I get one?" I said, "Okay, they're going to ask you two questions. They're going to ask you, how can I get one? And then they're going to ask you, where are the other three?" I said, because we will not buy just one of the members of Kiss. We will buy all four members of Kiss. And it will always be the case. You could be, Ace Frehley's my favorite, but if the character only says Spaceman, you're still buying it. And the same with Peter, you know? So that's my take on it. We're going to see a lot more licenses of products come out. I wish I still had some of the stuff I had. There was a Kiss Color Forms, if you can believe it.
I had the Kiss Color Forms.
I had it, and a lot of my old stuff, a lot of my old stuff is gone. It got destroyed, and I'm like, no.
I would give anything to get back my Kiss dolls from the original.
I do also. I still have the Kiss Viewmaster somewhere. So I mean, all this kind of stuff just shows, you know, they are masters of license, and Gene is going to have the time to pay attention to that, and I think we'll see a lot more of it. So that's my thoughts in a nutshell.
Nice work. And now for the second mention, potentially, of Vinnie Vincent, my dear friend Nick Cameron. What do you think Kiss does? Do you think this is legitimately the end of it? Do you think they? I feel like they're gonna Motley Crue this thing and Renee.
No way in hell. My God, I hope they just retire. They're 75. They've worked for 45 years, 55 years at this point, to talk about the idea of a Sphere residency. I'm going to throw water on that. We are talking about a band that had to cancel a 7-date residency in a 4,500 seat theater 3 years ago because they couldn't fill it. They will not be able to do a 20,000 seat arena residency. On top of that, my God, if they don't retire, someone will die on stage, and I hope to God that does not happen. Mm-hmm. Please, you have worked for 1,000 million years. Rest. Your show musically is awful now. Stop. I yield my time.
All right. I saw Kiss for 10 minutes last year, and I was all set. I was leaving anyway, and I saw the first 10 minutes of their show, and I was like, yeah, Paul is done vocally. The last full Kiss show I saw was 5 years ago, and I thought they were still competent and solid, although, again, they came on after Rob Zombie, and it was like the young guys and the old guys playing volleyball together. We'll go through these next couple of questions with relatively short responses from you guys, and I'll stay with Nick for this. Let's start with this one. Is Kiss the best band in American rock history? And if not, who is? Just really short on these.
I would say, wow. No. I love them to death, but they are not an album band. And to be the greatest of anything band, I think you need to be an album band. And as I'm well on record for saying, they're a 30-30-30 band. 30% great, 30% filler, 30% oh my god, why is that even recorded? Ladies Room, Two Timer, Love 'Em, Leave 'Em, Looking at You. A lot of them are Gene songs. Like most of the 80s and most of the 70s Gene songs were terrible. It's true. But no, I would have to say the Doors had a greater impact musically speaking. I don't think of the show. I don't think of the toys. I think of what they did musically. And no, they're just not. They're very good, and I love them to death.
All right, hold that thought, because there's going to be more later on Legacy. Let's go back to Ken. Ken, Kiss, the greatest band in American classic. Let's say classic rock American bands. I'm not counting Metallica as a rock band. 70s rock bands. Kiss number one or no?
I'm gonna go with the Nick on that and say, despite them being my very favorite band of them all, I'm gonna be realistic and say no, for a lot of the same reasons. You know, there's good, there's bad, there's woo, but they are still my very favorite band. I will go to see them whenever the chance happens, and now there's only 2 more chances for me to try. Greatest American band, can I say maybe one of them is Kansas is still standing up today. Lots of hits and still touring at a lengthy age, but there's more of a depth in the Kansas material. So this does not affect my love of Kiss. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. My Gene Simmons implant in the head is going to pop from me saying no, but you know, whatever. That's my take.
The shock collar is about to go off. I like Kansas. That's a dark horse pick, man. Let's go to Don. Don, Kiss, greatest American rock band or no? And who is if they're not?
So I'm probably gonna get stuff thrown at me for this, and you know I talk a lot of stuff though, but I stand by it. I'm gonna have to say, to me, the Grateful Dead was the best American band, and I'll mainly just because I liked how Nick said about being an album band. The Dead to me was like they rode the Americana, folk, rock, blues, jazz, went into psychedelia, whatever they did. They changed the face of live performances, playing to huge people without having to be a record-selling band. They had maybe one platinum record their whole career, but yet they could sell out 3, 4, 5 shows at Giant Stadium. They were the best at what they did. As far as Kiss goes, they're in my top 5. Always will be. Even at their worst, Kiss never apologized, so I can't apologize for being a Kiss fan. Just like I can't apologize for saying that they're not the best.
There you go. I like that. Nobody should ever apologize for their taste. That's all good. Let's go over to Gail, because I'm interested in your take on this. Gail, you have such a rich history. Your body of work as a journalist speaks for itself. You've interviewed a lot of the greats. Is Kiss the best American rock band? What do you think?
Oh, I'm so glad Nick said it first. No, Kiss they're the best at a lot of things, and they're undeniably a great band, and they've certainly have outlasted almost everybody except Aerosmith, who are not very good anymore. But as far as making excellent albums, I would put 2 American bands above them of the 70s, the original Alice Cooper band and Sly and the Family Stone.
All right, I like both of those. Again, unexpected answers. I'm for it. I'm for it. Victor, what do you say, sir? You've got a lot of history in your back pocket. If Kiss is not the best band, who is?
Nobody. It's them. It is them, because I will tell you why. It's the whole package. You can't just say, well, no, I like a little bit of this and I like a little bit of that. No, all around. As much as I love a lot of all the other bands that people have been mentioning, right now you ask somebody, great rock band, you put a picture of the Dead, you put a picture of the Doors, you put a picture of Kiss, who gets identified? It's Kiss. They've done so many things when it comes to live shows, when it comes to, and I get it, not every album is great, but out of all the other bands that we can throw in there, is every Kansas album that came out great? Is every Van Halen album, or even as Gail said, every Aerosmith album great? And I don't know too many people that love Dada by Alice Cooper either. So they've all got great albums. They've all got crap albums. But we're talking about Kiss, so I'm going to say, yes, Kiss is the greatest American rock band.
All right, we've got one, at least one. That's great. Who have I not talked to yet? Mark, do you have a take on this?
Sure, I have a take on everything. If you watch my videos, my metal tapes, you'll know that I rarely use the terms like best because I think music is so subjective. So I'll use terms like my favorite. So I do have to say I don't think that Kiss is the best or even my favorite American rock band from that era. I do think they're one of the most influential rock bands from that era. I mean, they influenced bands like Motley Crue. These bands have said they directly influenced them. So Motley Crue, Merciful Fate, Trent Reznor, Alice in Chains, and they're continuing to influence bands today, especially with their use of makeup and theatrics. So they're an extremely influential band. But if I were going with what I would call the best American rock band from that era, or close to that era, my favorite would either be, actually, I would have my favorite one. Well, let's just say it. I'm gonna have stuff thrown at me with this, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Would be the David Lee Roth era of Van Halen. Yeah, Alice Cooper is another one that I think was really good. There's not a lot of filler on Alice's albums. I think Alice's albums were very solid, and his show was exceptional. But just personally, I love David Lee Roth.
I agree 100%. That would be my pick as the best American rock band. That Roth era Van Halen is untouchable, and I don't care for Sammy, honestly, and I don't care if he goes on tour with 1 million guitar players. I don't care, and especially the bullshittery that he pulled this week, he can just screw right off. But not only talented and strikingly handsome, Peter Wilson has an astounding vinyl collection. So, Peter, who is the best American rock band? If it is not Kiss, who is it?
You guys are really killing me. Gail, I want to say something to you because I know a lot of people. The Sly Stone one is great. My argument would be that it wouldn't be an American, just a rock band. Because I think Sly and the Family Stone from 67 to arguably 72, 73, some of the best music ever created by anyone. So I think calling them just a rock band is limiting them, actually. But I love that you mentioned them. I love the mentions. This is a really hard question because my top 4 bands, if we're focusing on Keefy, what you're calling the 70s sound, to me is Kiss, is Aerosmith, is Cheap Trick, and Van Halen. And then you kind of have to throw them in a blender and start to see how their careers pan out. So this is really hard. I don't know if I can name, if I'm being really honest and looking from the beginning, very beginning to where we are now, I will say something that maybe a lot of people will throw things at me. I think Cheap Trick has been more consistent than any of those bands. I mean, Van Halen included, although I think they ended on a great note, which made me very happy. Can you imagine Van Halen ending with Van Halen 3? What a frightening thought.
Oh no.
Sorry,
poor Gary Sharon, man. He never gets a break. I just want to hug that guy every time I see him.
I saw that tour. The only time I saw them was that tour.
Great tour. I saw at the Garden. They were great. But we're talking about albums. But in terms of, I love the term that Mark said, in terms of not necessarily the greatest if you just focus on the music. And I do want to say that Victor has a point. Every one of the bands I mentioned, including Cheap Trick, who I think as an arguable place, because Aerosmith to me, after somewhere in the mid to late 90s, totally died. I like musically in terms of records. In terms of live shows, they're still great, and I hope Steven gets better. Again, but like there were some bad periods of Kiss that I went to go see and I signed off on, but I knew those albums were terrible. But I would say the last couple of Kiss records are better than a lot of the last stuff, although people ignore them. They're actually better records than a lot of older bands. And I think Cheap Trick to me has made their last decade or so of records have been fantastic by and large. But in terms of most influential and in a lot of ways important, I mean, Kiss, you see Kiss in R&B, you see Kiss in hip hop, you see Kiss in straight up like heavy metal stuff to like whatever. So can I argue? I think I might give Van Halen the nod from 78 to 84, right? But in terms of albums, like who do I go back and listen to albums of? And as well as we'll go see the live show and think about, Kiss holds a special, a really unique place in terms of being the most influential. So, you know, my 10-year-old, 12-year-old Peter is screaming Kiss. My head is saying something else, but it's definitely to me in the Kiss, Van Halen, early Aerosmith up to maybe 80, 89-ish. I'd say Aerosmith, you know, you have to pay attention, but yeah, I think that those are some of the top. So, you know, take that for what it is.
I still love Aerosmith, Get a Grip. Gonna say mildly surprised no one said ZZ Top, and super happy no one said Journey, the bane of my existence. Good band, not for me. Just not for me. Just not for me. We're going to go through this next one pretty quick. Everybody keep it to like 2 minutes. I know that's a hard request when I ask the question. What is your personal favorite Kiss memory? And I'm going to start with me, and I'm going to say when 5-year-old Keefy walked down from Parkside Houses on Burke Avenue and White Plains Road in the Bronx and walked to Pelham Parkway with my mom to buy Rock and Roll Over as my first vinyl purchase ever. That moment has never been broken, encased in amber forever, and I love it so much, and it's still my favorite Kiss record, even though it's nobody's favorite Kiss record, not even Paul's. But I love that record, and I love that memory that I got. My brother was a big Kiss person and had all the Kiss stuff, and I had all the Kiss toys. But that purchase to get Rock and Roll Over with my allowance that I saved meant everything to me. And so now we'll kick it back. Let's go to Victor first on this. What's your personal favorite Kiss memory?
Similar to what you're saying, I was 4 years old, 1977, and my brother got Alive 2 for Christmas. And there's that, forgive me that I don't remember the exact title. There was a booklet that came in it, which I think was called The Evolution of Kiss or something similar. And I remember seeing Ace Frehley, the big center shot of him, and it was him with the smoke coming out of the guitar. And I was thinking, holy crap, he looks like a superhero. And he's playing music? What is this? So to me, just that impact of seeing that and then just listening to Alive 2 and Destroyer over and over again as a 4-year-old, that's what did it for me. So that's my personal favorite memory of Kiss.
Very nice. Nick Cameron, what is your favorite Kiss memory? Please honestly, don't say Vinnie Vincent. Please don't say Vinnie Vincent. Oh my God.
Good Lord. No. When Vinnie Vincent was a thing, I didn't even know who the hell he was. I was too young to know the members had changed. No, I love Vinnie Vincent's drama. That's as far as it goes. My favorite Kiss moment was actually walking into the then Kiel Center, now Enterprise Center, in 1996, July 3rd, on the third date of the reunion tour, because it was granted, it was the reunion season. The Eagles had just reunited. Everybody was reuniting at that moment in time. Black Sabbath was 18 months away from announcing their reunion. But it was the reunion we never thought would happen. The Makeup Kiss era was something that I only experienced in memories because I was only 4 when the band broke up the first time, when they started parting out. So to be able to see that was just this amazing moment in time, seeing the energy, seeing everybody remembering a great time, an earlier time in America, which, okay, I'm not going to say it was a better time, but you know what I mean. And I remember thinking as I'm watching Ace play the guitar solo to Shock Me, which was about the last time I really enjoyed long form solos because they're not that good. And I remember thinking, wow, how long can they wear this makeup? They're in their 40s, like 4 to 5 years. And ironically, I am now older than Ace Frehley was at that moment, and I thought he was an old ass fart then. So I'm gonna die real soon. I yield my time.
Please don't say stuff like that. But yeah, I know what you mean, pal. Ken Pierce, favorite Kiss memory ever?
Wow. All right. Well,
in 2 minutes or less.
Okay, so I'm gonna scroll back. So the first time I ever really heard Kiss on a full album was Alive 2. So that was a special memory. I had heard their music before on the radio because it was regularly on the radio. But seeing them live for the very first time, 1979 Madison Square Garden Dynasty Tour, called The Return of Kiss, with those garish outfits. I went on the second night with Mom and Dad. I do not have my first concert ticket because nobody kept those things in those aught years. And that was special. You know, I was 14. I loved it, you know, 4 years old. So I was 14. And then fast forward to the reunion announcement, 1996, right? It was 96, 96. And they did it, and I got to see them again at Madison Square Garden. I went twice of the 4 nights. All 4 nights were sold out. And the second time, I was pretty much, my friend had better seats than I ever could have gotten. We were like maybe 10 feet away from Gene, and I was that 14-year-old kid again, man. My superheroes were back. The reason I got into music as a very, very steadfast thing had returned, and it was just, I was a kid again, man. So that's it. Is that 2 minutes?
That's great. And I was at those shows also. I'm sure Peter was. I'm sure, I mean, even Victor, you might have been too, right? Maybe.
Unfortunately, I was too dumb to and did not go. I thought, yeah, I'll see them again. I'll see them again, and I didn't end up seeing them again until a disastrous show in Virginia Beach on their first farewell tour. So,
oh no,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Do you have a favorite moment ever for Kiss though, on the positive side?
for them as a
Yeah,
band,
just as a band overall, one favorite moment, one favorite memory.
outside of the one that I mentioned, I mean,
Nope.
just being a part of the soundtrack of my life. I Charlie Benante mentioned this years ago. He thanked somebody for being part of the soundtrack of their life, and I thought, wow, that's just such a unique thing because of the connection that music has with us and whatnot, and just thought, wow, we take all these things with us, and I'm already going long, but yeah, just
No, yeah.
just their music being there for good times and bad times, and helping you through a lot of different shit, whether it's good or bad, and that to me is the overall thing. And I yes, I agree with Nick in that there's been a lot of crap over the years, but we always go back to the good stuff. So
That's fair. That's fair. We do go back to the good stuff. Who's left? Gail? Did we get yours?
Oh,
What's your favorite Kiss
no.
memory?
So this is funny. I'm listening to all you guys talk about being 4 years old when albums came out. I was 15 when Kiss Alive was released. So I think I'm older than everybody here. And so technically I could have gone to see them on that tour, but I was just being allowed to go to big shows. So I kind of had to play my hand to see Queen and The Who that year. So I didn't quite make it to Kiss. But when 1996 came around and they did the reunion with the original members, I went to see them at Madison Square Garden. And some friends of mine in a local band called D-Generation were the opening band. So that was like a pretty crazy thing because they were like my age. But what I remember about that concert was it was one of the last times I really dressed up to go to a show. So I was wearing like a black halter top and a leopard print mini skirt and big black vinyl platform boots that were so uncomfortable. But all I cared about was like looking good for Kiss, right? And when they did New York Groove, I just remember like dancing to New York Groove in those boots and just being like feeling totally free and happy. So that's my highlight.
That's amazing. And shout out to D-Generation and Jesse Malin, who's going through a health crisis.
Oh,
Shout
yeah.
out to him. Who is left? Peter and I think Don have not gone yet. So, Peter, do you have a favorite Kiss memory of all time?
Like probably a lot of you, it's really hard to think of one. And I'm not going to name the shows because a lot of you guys named my shows. Like my first show was Dynasty of the Garden, the 96 tour, and I've seen, just to let you know, I saw Kiss every tour from Dynasty in New York all the way through probably sometime in the mid 2000s, probably right after Monster. I stopped going because that's right when Paul's voice was starting to edge out. So I kind of said, I don't want to see one of my heroes against the wall like that. But I have a funny memory that maybe some of you guys will appreciate. So I took a lot of shit for being a Kiss fan, like a huge Kiss fan in the early 80s, as many of you might have, right? So they're going through Unmasked. Well, I could say starting with Dynasty, then Unmasked, then The Elder, and I was still a huge fan, and my friends were like, fuck you, your band sucks, like they don't even have the original members, this concept album. And so I remember distinctly being 11 years old and my mom coming home from downtown. She was a singer and would work late nights on Fridays. And she came in and woke me up and she turned on the light and said, "I got this for you." And she dropped the promo of Creatures of the Night on my lap at like 11:30 at night. I jump up out of bed, grab my headphones, and I'm like holding my breath because I'm like, man, I wonder, I don't know what they're going to do. And I always remember hearing the opening of Creatures in the Night with my old headphones. And I was like, holy shit, they're back. And feeling so like this. And I had the album like 3 or 4 weeks before anyone. I was like, fuck you guys. You can't wait to hear this shit. And I was like, fuck you and your Maiden shit. Fuck you. And I love all those bands, but I was talking mad shit. You know, I was like, fuck your Maiden, fuck your Priest, check this shit out. I still am super, whenever I hear that album, I get really excited. I'm that 11-year-old again, going to my friends. Like, and to this day, you know, when I met Eric Carr for 10 minutes in a store on St. Mark's at Trash and Vaudeville during the Hot in the Shade tour, I talked to him about the drum sound, and he, you know, he was totally awesome. And he said, man, he goes, that drum sound still gets me excited whenever I hear that record. I wish we could get that sound again, because they never could. But I love that record. It always has a special place in my heart. And I became like, it's like I became rejuvenated as a Kiss fan because of that album and so forth. So that's one of the like literally countless memories I have that are pretty awesome about that band.
Nice. Peter Wilson out New Yorking all the other New Yorkers. I think we have technically Don and Mark left also, right? So did Mark, you go already?
I haven't gone yet.
Okay, yeah. So let's go with you now, and then we'll do Don.
Well, great. And I think that it's great that I'm following Peter, because my favorite memory, actually, Gail and I are from the same era. I came up through the 80s, and my favorite memory was seeing Kiss on the Creatures of the Night tour back in the 80s. And that's still my favorite album by Kiss is Creatures of the Night, because like Peter said, when I listened to it, I thought, holy shit, they're back. They're back to being Kiss. At this point, though, Peter Criss was out of the band. Eric Carr was amazing on the drums, so he was a great replacement. Ace Frehley was pictured on the album, but he was also out of the band. He didn't play on the album. Vinnie Vincent had replaced him on tour. At the time, I didn't know any better, and I thought it was great. But it was a fantastic show. Lots of explosions. Gene looking menacing. Paul strutting around like a peacock. Man, I had a great time. And so that is my favorite memory of Kiss.
Nice work. How about you, Don?
Keefy, can I just ask Mark a quick question?
Yeah,
Mark, who opened for Kiss on that tour when you saw him? Was it Crew?
It might have been Crew, because it was the early 80s. So it was like 83, 84. And I know that Crew was with them during that time. So I think that's what it was. In fact, that would be back with Livewire Crew, which was the album that just totally blew me away. I got that album on a mixtape, and that's what really got me into metal. Sorry, didn't mean to.
Before Vince went completely downhill after the.
I totally disappointed in the last tour I went to see, and I wish that I had.
I'm sorry you did. How about you, Don? Favorite Kiss memory?
All right, Keefy. First off, Vince was never even on the hill to begin with, but that's a whole nother question. So, but anyway, okay. So I'm actually timing myself because it's impossible for me to keep anything below 2 minutes. So, first favorite memory of Kiss, Phantom of the Park on TV. I was about 5 years old. My mom said they came on and I just lost my shit, ran into the kitchen, grabbed the broom, started just, my dad was like, any hopes we had of him becoming a doctor or a lawyer is gone. Like, this is going to be his life. And sure enough, it was the catalyst for everything I ever did, from picking up a guitar to wanting to be an outspoken writer like Gene Simmons, you know, but anyway. And then I think the first time seeing them live was in '88 on the, oh God, what was that? Somebody help me out here.
Crazy Nights.
Crazy Nights, thank you. It was Crazy Nights tour with Ted Nugent. That was the first time I discovered I hated Ted Nugent. Still hate him to this day. But Kiss was fantastic. They were everything I hoped they would be, because even though they didn't have the makeup, the energy, the vibe, the spirit was still there. I was excited and I just loved it. And then I'd have to say my other favorite memory was in 1992 when they played here in Atlanta on the Revenge Tour. Omni was about half full. Kiss was not popular at that point, but my friend who worked for Ticketmaster had got us front row seats for the show. The night before, I was so excited. I'm in high school. Like, I was a senior in high school. I was so excited. I fell out of my bed 3 times the night before, like a kid at Christmas, you know, like I couldn't even fucking contain myself. Like, and so we went to the show, front row center, literally right in front of Gene. They're doing God of Thunder. I'm leaning over the barricade as far as I can, like singing the song back to Gene. Security grabs me and starts to push me back in. Gene flags them off, takes the guitar pick, licks it, and sticks it on my forehead. I still have that guitar pick to this day.
That's amazing. Fell out of bed 3 times. We're running low on time, so we're going to keep this literally 1-sentence answer. The worst moment in Kiss history is blank. Staying with you, Don. Go ahead.
Not saying goodbye when they said they were going to say goodbye.
That is the best answer. Sorry, everybody else. Nick Cameron.
Zurich, 2012, Paul Stanley singing the intro to Heaven's on Fire, teaching me his voice was gone.
That is a long time ago. Wow. Victor, what is the worst moment in history is blank?
Eric Carr passing away and them botching the entire situation.
Agreed. Very sad. Eric was a genius. No, he doesn't get, even still today, doesn't get talked about enough. I know they've done nice things for him and history box sets and home videos and DVDs, but not great at it. Ken Pierce, worst moment in history.
You know, Victor took it from me because I'm a drummer, so losing Eric Carr was really a heartbreaking thing, and I think it was before the days of all this social media crap that we do today, so maybe it would have been handled differently had this stuff been more available. But it was cold to me, you know. And also, since Freddie died the same day, it was overlooked by a lot, you know. So he didn't get the respect he deserved. That's mine.
Fair enough. Gail Worley, worst moment in Kiss history, in your opinion?
4 words. Songs from The Elder. I yield my time.
I like The Elder, but I understand why.
I do too.
I understand why.
I love The Elder, man.
The Elder is the best singular album they put out. It's the only one that goes start to finish as an album.
Fair. It totally is. It's a great album.
If they were gonna go like back in time, they should have made more concept albums, but better ones. Anyway,
yes,
just the 2 cents worth. Peter Wilson, worst moment in history. You're a big fan of all the eras, so I'm interested in your answer.
The worst moment in history is let's put the X in sex and you make it rock hard. Absolutely
terrible.
Paul Stanley's vibe in the whole 80s was To Catch a Predator. I don't know why. He was extremely good-looking and charismatic, bro.
I know we're supposed to only do a sentence, but I'll tell you very quickly because I was at the premiere party at 17 years old at MK's in Manhattan for Let's Put the X in Sex. It's where I met Paul and Gene. And I met the video girls, I met the director, I met Jean Boyer. They were extremely nice. And Gene Simmons sat next to me and my 17-year-old self with a bunch of girls. And I asked him what he thought of the video, because they were just showing the video on all night. And he said, it's pretty terrible.
That is great. That is a great story. I think Nick and I had done a series on the Glacial Musical Podcast about Kiss, and we were talking about like the secret weapon, John Boyer. Anyway, did I get everybody? Did I miss somebody? Worst moment in Kiss
I've got
history?
one sentence that hasn't been said. The worst moment in history to me is Paul versus Ace 2023 will cheat us out of seeing the original lineup in New York.
That's fair. I love Peter, and I don't think he could play a whole show anyway, but it would be nice to have Peter come out and sing Beth. and Hard Luck Woman and have Ace come on and do Shock Me and New York Groove, but
Yep.
it will not have. I know Peter and Ken will be at shows this next weekend as this runs, and I highly doubt it. Would not put Vegas odds on money on any kind of reunion ever happening again. I will say personally, worst moment in history to me, despite the fact that it is a worldwide hit song, I hate I Was Made for Loving You. I hate it. I hate everything about it. I hate everything about it. I know people love it. I hate it. I disco, which has many great songs and great artists, is the opposite of what Kiss. And I know, and by the way, Pink Floyd, my favorite band, totally ripped a bunch of disco drum beats and disco rhythms. Still not as bad as I Was Made for Loving You. And then just really quick, as we wrap this up, I know people have to go, and I appreciate you all. You've been wonderful. This has been exceeded my expectations by far, unlike Kiss. What is the lasting legacy of Kiss as a band, just in a sentence or two? And I'll give it over to Nick first.
Kiss's legacy is there is no legacy. They never cared about a legacy.
Okay, damn. I was not expecting that. I am shook from that answer from my podcast host, Nick, who was a great sport. Victor Ruiz over in Europe. What is the legacy of Kiss?
Oh, man. How can you follow that up? Come on. That was kind of like putting an exclamation point on the whole damn thing. Yeah. I don't know. I think, as I mentioned before, they've done a lot of things from a live standpoint, from a merchandising standpoint. I think, much to Nick's point before, they're probably going to be remembered more for what they've done outside of their albums. But still, at the same time, it pioneered a lot of things. So I think their legacy is them pioneering a lot of things that a lot of bands, although said no, we'll never do that, ended up doing anyway.
Well said. Gail Worley of the Worley Gig blog.
I think their legacy is their live show when they were in their prime. I yield my time.
She yields her time. I love it. That is the phrase of the day, actually. I yield my time. Peter.
I would say it's hard to remember, but I would say their legacy is to be fearless and not give a shit about what anyone else thinks. Because if you really think about their roots, they constantly were like not the cool thing to like. And to this day, I love that they're a band that you're either really into or you fucking hate them. And there's something about that to me means a lot. I'd always rather be either totally hated or really like adored, but not somewhere in the middle. You're either all in or you're not. And I love that. It's a very neat, like 70s New York attitude that I think still permeates about them. So it's something that I've always respected and loved about it. Kiss.
Nicely done. Nicely done. Ken Pierce, the legacy of Kiss is?
The legacy of Kiss for me, and I think a lot of you might agree, is the brand. I mean, let's face it. We were not cool kids for liking Kiss growing up. My friend, you said the Grateful Dead, Don, before. When I was growing up, I got to parse this in. My friends growing up were all Deadheads, and they constantly told me that Kiss sucked, Kiss sucked, Kiss sucked. So I hated the Grateful Dead for many years purely because of that. But the brand that Kiss has put out there will remain forever. Some people out there in rock and roll can't name 1, 2, 3 members of bands like Grateful Dead or not who the main guy is. You will always immediately know what Kiss looks like just by saying the hottest band in the world, Kiss. You know exactly who they are. That lasts.
Yeah, rest in peace, J.R. Smalley, right? J.R. Smallwood. Mark, the legacy of Kiss.
Yeah, I think that the legacy, it goes back to something I said earlier. It's their influence, the continuing influence that they have in metal and in music, other genres as well outside of metal. And that influence is going to continue.
And I think, nice. Don, I think you're the last on the block for this one.
Honestly, I think that Kiss's legacy is going to just always be go big or go home. I mean, you know, whether or not you're going to slap makeup on, whether you're going to be a heavy metal guy, a folk guy, a blues guy, whatever. If you know of Kiss, you know with Kiss, anything was possible. You dream big, you aim big. Sometimes you miss the mark. But when I think of Kiss, I always think of Kiss as an inspiration of just reaching as high as you can. And to me, that attitude and that act surpasses everything about Kiss, to my opinion.
That is the answer Gene also would have given, by the way. He definitely would be on board with that. I'm going to add my own as the last thought on the call, and I want to thank all of you for being here. You're all amazing. I'm going to link all of your things in the description, and I urge all the Ghost Cult followers to follow you all. But I'm going to say the legacy of Kiss is and will always be to me. So let's rock and roll all night and party every day. And I can't do it just like Paul, but that is really what their legacy is to me. Literally the fun in rock and roll. Rock and roll's got a lot of heavy, serious, heady topics, but the partying and the fun is the thing. This is all this band was ever about and nothing deeper, almost. And so if you can have that, you have a lot. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Peace out and
Thank
farewell.
you.
Peace out and farewell to Kiss.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Great
guys.
for
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Take care. Peace.
Bye, guys.